last year there was a canning lid shortage. It was darn hard to find these. They were at a premium, and the cost went up on them too. So you might be tempted to reuse lids, right? Take one when you're using something that you have canned, you open your jar, wash this well, reuse it. Should you do that? Well, we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts of reusing lids. Now, part of this is you have to understand the construction. Now, according to the National Preservation Center, most lids are fine for a 5-year shelf life before using. Once you use them, you see there's a little rubber gasket around there. I don't know if it's rubber, but anyway, the little gasket, it softens a bit and it kind of clings on to the rim of the jar, and that helps with your vacuum seal. So reusing this several times may cause you to have a seal failure. Now, I know many YouTube canners do reuse lids that they have previously used for canning. I don't. To me, my time is at a premium. I had to pay for the meat or whatever I'm canning, and I don't want to go down to my shelf and find the lid loose and I lost a whole jar of whatever I canned. It's just not worth it to me. Could you reuse them? You probably can. Should you reuse them? I don't think so. I agree with the National Preservation Society, Food Preservation Society. These are made for one-time use. However, I think there's an exception to that. I do reuse these lids when I'm packing things for storage, let's say dehydrated goods, in a glass jar. I vacuum seal the lid. I might want to open it and get what's in it and then re-vacuum seal it. And you know what? That works pretty good for me. But you gotta have a way to remove the lid so it doesn't damage the outside. Of course, you don't want your seal damaged, but you don't want any little nicks on the edge or any like bubbling up. You have to really inspect your lid after you remove it and then decide if you can reuse it or not. Now, I reuse it a lot with opening and vacuum sealing again my jarred dehydrated goods. And to me, you know, if something becomes slightly ajar, I can just re-dehydrate it and it'll be fine, as opposed to losing whatever I cooked on a pantry shelf downstairs from pressure canning. But you gotta take this lid off without hurting it. So we're gonna do an experiment with 3 different methods. We have our Pry Lid, our jar key, and our good old-fashioned can opener with the hook. So, which does better? Watch this experiment. So I thought we'd do an experiment with opening these vacuum sealed jars. I just put some pasta in there. I don't usually store them in these jars, but just for the experiment. One with a can opener, one with Pry Lid, and one with jar key. So something we all probably have is a can opener, although I know a lot of can openers aren't coming with this anymore. But let's try this first. So what you do is you're just trying to release the air underneath, so it's just very gentle. Oh, you hear it? Okay, now did we damage it at all? Looks good here. There. So, using a regular can opener seems to work, but we will see if this reseals or not. And now we have the Pry Lid. It's the Pry Lid. And this is, you can tell by the packaging, vintage tool. You're gonna get it on eBay or maybe Etsy or maybe in an estate sale. Susan Kames, a subscriber, had sent me this some time ago. She said, I got a jar opener on Amazon, Pry Lid. It unsealed our lids without banding the lids. And you can reuse your canning lids. It wasn't too expensive. Check it out. I love mine. So I did. I went and bought it. I was kind of surprised about the price. Now, this Pry Lid is pretty pricey when you buy it online. I suppose because it's vintage and hard to find, but I had to pay almost $35, including shipping. Pretty neat little tool, as you can see, very vintage. Let's take it out. Okay, it came out really easy. You heard the vacuum. So, yep, this vintage Pry Lid tool works. Now we're going to try a jar key, which is more modern. It's made by Bricks and it costs a lot less. So I picked up this jar key at Bed Bath & Beyond for $4.99 plus tax. Again, here's our jar. Here's this. So we're just putting it on here. Really easy. Again, lid is fine. Now I'm going to reseal all these and see if they work. So if you wonder how I'm vacuum sealing them, I'm using this container I've had for a long time. I like it with my vacuum sealer. Here, okay, take it out. But I also have, you know, these two, and these work, but if I have a jar that can fit in that container, that's my favorite way to do it. So, let's see for the jar key. Do we have a seal? I'm just going to lift it by the lid. There you go. So, the jar key did work, opened up the jar, and saved our lid. Okay. You hear that? Okay, this is just our regular can opener one. Open it up. Let's lift just by the lid. Yep. So, good old can opener that hopefully everybody has with that hook worked just fine by just gently going all the way around. To our final one, our Pry Lid. So I took the top off here of the Pry Lid. This is using this tool right here. Let's see. Seals just fine. So, any of these methods will work. I suppose one of the neatest ones in using a vintage tool is the Pry Lid. And it can open a lot of different lids. You know, sometimes you have to reverse it this way instead of this way. And you also have a bottle opener here. But we have learned that the more inexpensive jar key also works and is pretty sharp looking for a modern kitchen. But yeah, your old-fashioned can opener with a little hook, to me, works just fine by going slowly all the way around the lid. So all of these can be reused several times, but you do want to inspect them each time. Let's do the can opener one again. So we're just going to there it goes. So, can you see? Looks fine here. Let's look on the other side. Okay. Ooh, that looks very good. Doesn't look like there's any problems. So definitely, this one can be used again and again. Interestingly enough though, you probably can't catch this, but right where this would go in and out, there are little like dents here. I don't know if that's because it's done it several times now, but something to watch. So, there you have it. You know, the trusty can opener with a hook works really well if you're patient and just gentle opening around. Jar key for like $5 or something at Bed Bath & Beyond works very well. And if you appreciate kind of vintage things, this Pry Lid is neat, and it also helps you get out, you know, like lids from mayonnaise jars, pickles, things like that that might be hard for you to open. So, a neat tool. So I have to ask, do you reuse lids? If so, do you reuse them for canning or just storing dehydrated goods? Comment below and let me know your thoughts on this.